vast council chamber hushed as Commander Zaka stepped into the light. His green scales shimmered under the crystalline dome. This reptilian officer, a veteran of 3 wars and a witness to a dozen civilizations' rise, now showed raw fear in his yellow eyes. "We have a problem," he announced to the 47 species assembled. "The humans are on the move again." A nervous tremor rippled through the room. Even after 50 years of peace, the word human still unsettled many aliens. At the far end, Dr. Luna Vex, a translucent being, floated in her energy field, glowing with apprehension. "What kind of movement?" Admiral Crics inquired. The insectoid admiral clicked his mandibles. As the head of the Manturi fleet, he had patrolled the galaxy's fringes for decades, intimately familiar with every danger zone. Zaka activated the holographic display, and a 3-dimensional galaxy map materialized in the center of the room. Most of it shimmered blue, representing the Galactic Confederation's territories, but at the edge, a large section pulsed crimson, human space. "Our sensors detected massive energy surges along their border 3 days ago," Zaka explained. "The readings were unlike anything we've ever seen. Whatever they're building in there, it's monumental." The chamber erupted in worried murmurs. Species that rarely agreed on anything now found common ground in their shared fear of humanity. The Sorans hissed. The Manturi buzzed. Dr. Vex's people, energy beings, flickered with agitation. "Order, order," boomed the council speaker, a tall, silver-furred being. "Dr. Vex, you've studied human transmissions for 20 years. What is your assessment?" Dr. Vex glided closer to the display. Her voice, melodic yet dark, carried across the room. "I've been monitoring their communications, their entertainment, their news. What I've learned should terrify us all." She touched the hologram, and it zoomed into the red zone. "They call themselves humanity, but they are not the same species that first left their homeworld. They've changed, evolved in ways we cannot comprehend." "Explain," Admiral Crics demanded. "In the past 50 years, they've had no contact with other species, no trade, no cultural exchange. Yet, their technology has advanced faster than any civilization in galactic history. They speak of things they call impossible, as if they were simple problems to solve." Dr. Vex manipulated the display, showing waves of energy flowing through human space. "But it's not just their machines that have changed. Their people have too. I've intercepted training videos, medical reports, psychological profiles. What they consider a normal human today would have been their greatest warrior 50 years ago." "That's impossible," the council speaker stated. "Evolution doesn't work that fast." "Natural evolution doesn't," Dr. Vex countered. "But humans don't believe in natural limits." The room fell silent again. Everyone knew the stories. How humans had appeared in the galaxy 200 years ago with primitive ships and simple weapons. How they had fought everyone they met, not out of malice, but because they didn't know how to surrender. How they had transformed every defeat into a learning experience and every victory into a stepping stone. "We offered them membership in the Confederation," an older council member said. "They refused, said they needed time to figure things out." That was 50 years ago. "And now?" Admiral Crics asked. Zaka altered the display again, this time showing a timeline of human activity over the past decades. "For the first 20 years, we detected normal signs of civilization, cities growing, ships moving between their worlds, standard development patterns. The timeline shifted. Then something changed. About 30 years ago, the patterns became different, more organized, more purposeful, as if their entire civilization was working toward a single goal." "What goal?" several voices demanded simultaneously. "We don't know," Zaka admitted. "But whatever it is, they're close to finishing it. The energy signatures we detected 3 days ago suggest they're activating something. Something big enough to power an entire star system." Dr. Vex floated higher, her glow dimming with worry. "There's something else. In their entertainment programs, they have stories about creatures called monsters." But in these stories, the monsters aren't evil. They're just different, and humans always find a way to understand them, to help them, or to stop them if they can't be helped. What does that mean? Asked the council speaker. I think it means they see themselves as the monsters now, and they're deciding what to do about it. Admiral Crics rose, his 6 legs clicking on the floor. Then we need to know what we're dealing with. I volunteer my stealth fleet for reconnaissance. We can observe from a distance, gather intelligence, report back. Absolutely not, several council members declared at once. The Treaty of Cosmic Peace specifically forbids entering human space, the council speaker reminded. The treaty also requires us to protect Confederation members from external threats, Admiral Crics countered. If humans have become dangerous, we need to know. Dr. Vex drifted between them. I support Admiral Crics' proposal, but we must be careful. Very careful. Humans have a saying, curiosity killed the cat. I fear we may be the cat in this situation. The debate raged for hours. Some advocated for direct contact with humans. Others proposed reinforcing the border. A few even suggested attempting to make peace before it was too late. Ultimately, they voted. It was a close call, but Admiral Crics secured his mission. Take your best ships, the council speaker ordered. Stay outside their sensor range. Observe only. No contact, no interference. And if you see anything that suggests immediate danger, you retreat immediately. Admiral Crics bowed his head. Understood. We launch at first light. As the council session concluded, Dr. Vex approached the Admiral. Be careful, old friend. I've spent decades studying humans. The more I learn about them, the more I realize we never truly understood what they were capable of. What do you think we'll find out there? He asked. Dr. Vex's glow flickered like a dying star. I think we'll find out why no one dares cross into human space. And I think we'll discover that maybe, just maybe, that's been protecting us all along. That night, as Admiral Crics prepared his fleet, Dr. Vex's words lingered. 50 years ago, humans had been the newcomers, the primitive species everyone underestimated. Now, they were the unknown factor keeping the galaxy's most advanced civilizations awake. Tomorrow, he would find out why. His ships launched in the pre-dawn darkness, sleek vessels designed for stealth and observation, as they crossed into the outer reaches of space, heading toward the red zone on every star chart. Admiral Crics wondered if they were making the biggest mistake in galactic history. Behind them, the lights of Confederation space dwindled. Ahead, the darkness of human territory waited, and somewhere in that darkness, something massive was stirring to life. Captain Jake Morrison was drinking his morning coffee when the alarm blared. The hot liquid splashed across his desk as he leaped up, ignoring the mess. In his 3 years commanding the Deep Space Station Cerberus, the proximity alarms had never sounded. "Report!" he shouted as he rushed onto the bridge. Lieutenant Amy Chen turned from her communications console, her face pale. "Sir, we have multiple contacts approaching from Confederation space. Computer identifies them as Manturi stealth vessels." Morrison felt a chill. The Manturi were the galaxy's best scouts. If they were here, it meant the Confederation was finally making a move. He had hoped this day would never come. "How many ships?" he asked. 12, sir. They're trying to stay hidden, but our new sensor array picked them up 2 light years out." Morrison nodded grimly. The sensor array was part of the upgrades they had made to all human outposts over the past decade. The aliens had no idea how far human technology had advanced. Time to intercept. At current speed, they'll reach our outer perimeter in 6 hours. Morrison walked to the center of the bridge. Around him, his crew awaited orders. These weren't just any humans. Each person on Cerberus had been selected for this mission. They knew what might happen if aliens ever came looking. "Activate Protocol 7, Morrison said quietly. The bridge fell silent. Everyone knew what Protocol 7 meant. It was the procedure they hoped they'd never have to use. Dr. Paul Martinez, looked up from his psychology station. "Sir, are you sure? Once we activate Protocol 7, there's no going back." "The decision was made 50 years ago, document. We're just following orders." Lieutenant Chen's hands flew over her controls. "Protocol 7 activated, sir. All human stations are responding. The network is coming online." Morrison felt a familiar weight settle on his shoulders. For 3 years, he had been the guardian of humanity's greatest secret. Today, he would have to reveal part of it. "Chun, open a channel to the approaching vessels. Use their language." "Channel open, sir." Morrison took a deep breath. "Manturi vessels, this is Captain Jake Morrison of the Human Space Force. You are entering restricted territory. Turn back now." The response came quickly. A clicking, buzzing voice filled the bridge. "Human vessel, this is Admiral Crics of the Confederation fleet. We come in peace. We wish only to observe." Morrison almost smiled. The aliens thought they were being clever. They had no idea that humans had been monitoring Confederation communications for decades. They knew about the council meeting. They knew about Dr. Vex's research. They knew exactly why the aliens were here. "Admiral Crics," Morrison replied, "you are not welcome here. Turn back now or face the consequences." Chief Petty Officer Lisa Kane stepped forward. Morrison had requested her transfer to Cerberus specifically for her background. Before joining the Space Force, she had been part of something the aliens would never understand. "Sir," she said quietly, "should I prep the demonstration?" Morrison nodded. "Do it." Kane moved to her station and began entering commands. Around the bridge, displays lit up, showing the positions of every human outpost, ship, and installation within 100 light years. The aliens were about to get their first real look at what human space had become. On the Manturi flagship, Admiral Crics studied the energy readings his sensors were detecting. When the humans had activated something called Protocol 7, massive power sources had begun coming online throughout human territory. "Science officer," he called, "what are those energy signatures?" The response worried him. "Admiral, I'm reading power levels that should be impossible. These aren't just defensive installations. There's something else entirely. Weapons." Crics pressed. I don't know, sir. The energy patterns don't match anything in our database." On Cerberus, Dr. Martinez analyzed the alien fleet's psychological profiles. His role was to understand how various species thought, reacted to stress, and made decisions under pressure. "Captain," he reported, "based on Manturi psychology, they're likely confused right now. Their stealth technology isn't working, and they're detecting unidentified energy sources. They'll try to gather more information before deciding whether to advance or retreat." Morrison nodded. "How long do we give them?" "Manturi are cautious by nature," Martinez replied. "They'll want to report back to their superiors before taking any major action. I'd say we have maybe an hour before they make their move." Lieutenant Chim looked up. "Sir, I'm detecting communication bursts from their flagship. They're sending reports back to Confederation space." "Let them," Morrison said. "In fact, make sure they get a clear signal." The bridge crew looked surprised but complied. If the aliens wanted to tell their leaders what they were seeing, that was fine. It was all part of the plan. On the Manturi ship, Admiral Crics grew more anxious by the minute. His science officer had just reported something impossible. "Admiral, the human installations aren't just defensive. They're integrated. The entire human territory appears to be connected by some kind of network. When one station activates, they all respond." "What does that mean?" Crics asked. "It means human space isn't just defended by individual outposts. The entire region has been turned into a single massive system." Crics felt his confidence waver. The Confederation had sent him to observe a primitive species that had isolated itself. Instead, he was witnessing technology that made his advanced stealth ship seem like a child's toy. "Admiral," his communications officer called, "we're receiving another transmission from the human station." Morrison's voice again filled the Manturi bridge. "Admiral Crics, you have 5 minutes to begin your withdrawal. After that, we will consider your presence an act of aggression." Crics wanted to respond, but his science officer interrupted with more disturbing news. "Sir, I'm reading massive power buildups throughout human space. Whatever they're doing, it's big. Really big." "How big?" "Admiral, if these readings are correct, they have enough power online to affect the fabric of space itself." The implication struck Crics like a physical blow. The humans weren't just defending their territory. They had transformed their entire region of space into something unprecedented. "Admiral," came Morrison's final transmission, "your time is up. You wanted to see what we've become. Congratulations. You're about to get your wish." The human station suddenly went dark. All energy signatures vanished from Crics' sensors. The space around them became eerily quiet. Then slowly, something began to happen. The stars themselves seemed to shift. Space twisted in ways that defied every law of physics Crics knew. And at the center of it all, human space began to glow with an impossible light. Admiral Crics realized with growing horror that they weren't just observing humans anymore. They were trapped in whatever the humans had built. And based on the energy readings now flooding his sensors, the humans had just activated something that could reshape reality itself. The last thing he heard before his communications went dead was Captain Morrison's voice, calm and terrifying in its certainty. "You wanted to know why no one dares cross into human space, Admiral? Now you're going to find out firsthand. Welcome to humanity's greatest achievement. We call it evolution." Admiral Crics watched in horror as space itself began to change around his fleet. The stars that had been in fixed positions for millions of years started to move, not in straight lines like ships or planets, but in impossible spirals that made his eyes ache to follow. "Science officer," he shouted over the alarms filling his bridge. "What's happening?" The panic-filled response came back. "Admiral, our instruments can't make sense of the readings. It's like the humans have taken control of physics itself." Before Crics could respond, a new voice broke through their communication system. It was calm, professional, and utterly terrifying in its confidence. "Admiral Crics, this is Colonel Ben Harris, Saul, Defense Grid. Please remain calm. You are not in immediate danger, but you are now inside our space. We control everything here." Crics found his voice. "What have you done? This is impossible." "Impossible is a word we stopped using 50 years ago," Harris replied. "You wanted to observe human space. Now you're part of it. Welcome to the Darwin Project." On the human command ship Harbinger, Colonel Harris stood before a wall of screens displaying the trapped alien fleet. Around him, his crew worked with the quiet efficiency that had become the hallmark of evolved humanity. "Dr. Williams," he called to the scientist at the central station, "are our guests ready for the full demonstration?" Dr. Kate Williams looked up from her controls. She had spent 30 years working on the Darwin Project, watching humanity transform itself into something unprecedented in galactic history. Today, she would finally show the universe what they had accomplished. "All systems are green, Colonel. The aliens are completely contained within our field. They can observe but not interfere." Harris nodded. "Then let's show them what we've become. Activate Phase 1. Throughout human space, installations that had been dormant for decades began to wake up. These weren't weapons or shields in any traditional sense. They were something far more fundamental, tools that could reshape the basic laws of reality within a defined area. On his trapped ship, Admiral Crics watched as human vessels began to appear around his fleet. But these ships were like nothing in any database. They seemed to change shape as he watched, adapting to conditions in real time. "Admiral," his communications officer called, "I'm receiving data streams from the human ships. They're sharing information with us." What kind of information? Everything, sir. Their history, their technology, their philosophy. It's like they want us to understand what we're seeing. Crics authorized the data transfer, though every instinct told him it was a trap. As the information flowed into his ship's computers, he began to comprehend the true scope of what humanity had accomplished. Dr. Williams' voice came through the communication system, speaking directly to the alien fleet. Admiral Crics, what you're seeing is the result of 50 years of focused evolution. When we first met your species, we realized something important. We were not ready to be part of galactic civilization. Why not? Crics asked, though he was beginning to suspect the answer. Because we were still limited by what we thought was possible. Your species, all the species in the Confederation, had reached a comfortable level of advancement and stopped growing. You had achieved peace by accepting limitations. On the Harbinger, Commander Alex Turner stepped forward. He was the pilot of humanity's most advanced ship, but more than that, he was an example of what humans had become. His reflexes were faster than any natural creature. His mind could process information at speeds that would overwhelm most computers. Yet, he still retained the curiosity and determination that made humans unique. Show them the cities, Turner suggested. Dr. Williams smiled and activated another set of displays. Throughout human space, the alien fleet could now see human settlements. But these weren't cities in any traditional sense. They were living, growing structures that adapted to their inhabitants' needs in real time. This is impossible, Crics whispered. You keep using that word, said General Rick Stone as his image appeared on Crics' screen. Stone was the supreme commander of human space forces, and looking at him, Crics could see something that chilled him to his core. This wasn't just a human anymore. This was something that had evolved beyond normal limitations, while somehow remaining fundamentally human. General Stone, Crics said, trying to keep his voice steady. What do you want from us? Nothing, Stone replied simply. We don't want your territory. We don't want your resources. We don't want to rule your people. We just want to be left alone to continue growing. Then why show us this? Why reveal your capabilities? Dr. Williams answered, because isolation only works if others respect it. For 50 years, your Confederation has wondered why we withdrew from galactic society. You've created myths and legends about us. You feared us without understanding us. She gestured to the displays, showing human achievements. Today, you learn the truth. We didn't withdraw out of fear or hatred. We withdrew because we knew what we could become, and we weren't sure the galaxy was ready for it. Commander Turner stepped closer to his communication console. Every human child today can do things that would have been considered superhuman 50 years ago. Every human worker has capabilities that exceed your military elites. Every human scientist can process information at speeds that would burn out your most advanced computers. But you're still human? Crics asked. More human than ever, General Stone replied. We haven't lost our core nature. We've just removed the artificial limits that biology and technology once imposed on us. The data streams continued to flow, showing the aliens exactly how humanity had transformed itself. They hadn't just advanced their technology, they had evolved their biology, enhanced their psychology, and restructured their entire civilization around the principle of continuous improvement. The Darwin Project wasn't just about making better humans, Dr. Williams explained. It was about creating a species that could adapt to any challenge, survive any threat, and solve any problem. We became what we needed to become. Admiral Crics felt a deep fear settle in his chest. And what did you need to become? General Stone's image flickered as he smiled, and for a moment, Crics saw something in that smile that made him understand why no species had dared challenge humanity. We became the species that stands between the galaxy and everything that wants to destroy it. We became the immune system of civilization itself. What does that mean? Crics asked. It means, Admiral, that while your people have been focused on maintaining peace and stability, we've been preparing for war. Not war against you, but war against the things that are coming. The threats that exist beyond the edge of known space. The dangers that your comfortable civilizations aren't equipped to handle. Dr. Williams added, we've been monitoring signals from the galactic rim for decades. There are things out there that would end your confederation in a matter of months. Ancient machines that consume entire star systems. Hostile intelligences that view all biological life as a disease to be cured. Why haven't you warned us? Crics demanded. Because you wouldn't have believed us, Stone replied, and because you couldn't have done anything about it anyway. But we can. Commander Turner moved to the front of his bridge. In approximately 10 years, the first wave will reach Confederation space. When it does, you'll understand why we needed to become what we are. You'll understand why we've spent 50 years turning ourselves into something capable of fighting the impossible. The displays around Admiral Crics' ship suddenly changed, showing vast, dark shapes moving through space beyond the galactic rim. Things that blotted out stars and consumed everything in their path. This is what's coming, General Stone said quietly. This is why no one dares cross into human space. Not because we're hostile, but because we're the only thing standing between the galaxy and total extinction. The transmission ended, leaving Admiral Crics and his fleet alone with the horrifying truth. Humanity hadn't withdrawn from galactic civilization out of fear or aggression. They had withdrawn to become the galaxy's last line of defense against threats that no one else even knew existed. Admiral Crics stared at the dark shapes on his screen for a long time before finding his voice. How long have you known about these things? 37 years, came the reply from DR. Sam Roberts, who appeared on the communication screen. Unlike the military officers, Roberts looked like what the aliens expected a human to look like. Older, calmer, wearing simple clothes. But when he spoke, his words carried the weight of someone who had spent decades thinking about impossible problems. We detected the first signals when we were upgrading our deep space sensors, Roberts continued. At first, we thought they were natural phenomena, pulsars maybe, or some kind of stellar collapse. Then we realized the patterns were too organized, too purposeful. Captain Nina Foster stepped into view beside Roberts. She commanded the human ship Nemesis, one of the vessels that had appeared around the alien fleet. Like all the humans they had seen, she moved with a confidence that seemed unnatural to alien eyes. Dr. Roberts, she said, should we show them the recordings? Roberts nodded. They need to understand what we're dealing with. The screens around Admiral Crics' ship filled with images from deep space. At first, they showed normal star fields. Then slowly the stars began to disappear. Not exploding or collapsing, just gone. As if something was consuming them one by one. This is the Helix Arm, about 15,000 light years from here, Roberts explained. Over the past 30 years, we've watched 17 star systems just vanish. Complete consumption. No debris, no energy signature, nothing. Crics felt his scales crawl. What could do that? We call them devourers, Foster replied. We don't know what they are exactly. Machines maybe, or something that was once alive and became something else. What we do know is that they're headed this way. A new figure appeared on the screen. Sergeant Mike Davis looked like he should have been a normal human soldier. But as Crics watched, Davis did something that made the alien admiral's eyes widen in shock. He lifted a piece of metal that should have weighed several tons, twisted it into a new shape with his bare hands, then set it down gently. Don't be alarmed, Roberts said, noticing Crics' reaction. Sergeant Davis is demonstrating enhanced human capabilities. Physical strength is just one aspect of what we've become. That's impossible, Crics whispered. Davis smiled, and it was a surprisingly warm expression. "Admiral, with respect, we stopped believing in impossible a long time ago. When you're facing the end of everything you care about, you find ways to become whatever you need to be." Dr. Carol Jensen stepped forward, her hands glowing with some kind of energy field. "Admiral Crics, may I explain what you're seeing? I'm a bioengineer. I help design the modifications that make our current capabilities possible." Crics nodded, though he wasn't sure he wanted to hear the answer. 50 years ago, humans were limited by biology, Jensen began. We could only process so much information, move so fast, lift so much weight. We had maximum lifespans, maximum learning capacity, maximum everything. She gestured to the humans around her. We removed those maximums, not by replacing our humanity, but by enhancing it. Every human today has the processing power of your most advanced computers, the physical capabilities of your strongest warriors, and the lifespan to actually use these gifts. "But you're still human?" Crics asked. Dr. Roberts stepped forward again. "That's the important part, Admiral. We didn't lose our humanity in becoming more than human. We became more human than ever." To demonstrate, Roberts pulled up recordings of human society. Crics expected to see military installations and weapons factories. Instead, he saw children playing games that required impossible coordination, artists creating works that seemed to bend reality, families gathering for meals that lasted for hours of complex conversation. "We still love," Roberts said simply. "We still dream. We still make mistakes and learn from them. We still care about each other and about life itself. We just do all of it on a scale that would have been unimaginable to our ancestors." Captain Foster activated another display. "Admiral, would you like to see what human space really looks like? Not the defensive installations, but the places where we actually live." The screen showed a human city, but it was unlike anything in Crics' experience. Buildings that changed shape based on the needs of their inhabitants. Parks where the plants and animals had been enhanced to create living art. Transportation systems that moved people through three-dimensional space as easily as walking. "This is beautiful," Crics admitted. "It's also completely functional," Foster replied. "Every citizen in that city could, if necessary, become a soldier capable of fighting threats that would destroy your most advanced military units. Every child has the education equivalent of your greatest scholars. Every worker has the creativity of your finest artists," Sergeant Davis added. "But more than that, Admiral, every human has something your people seem to have lost. We still believe we can get better. We still think tomorrow can be better than today." Dr. Jensen nodded. "That's what we call the human condition. It's not just our biology or our technology. It's our refusal to accept that anything is impossible. It's our belief that there's always a way forward, always a solution, always hope." "Even facing these devourers?" Crics asked. "Especially facing the devourers," Roberts replied. "Your Confederation has achieved peace by avoiding conflict. You've created stability by accepting limitations. When you encounter a problem you can't solve, you work around it or ignore it." "And humans?" Crics already knew the answer, but he had to ask. "We solve it," Foster said simply. "No matter how long it takes, no matter what we have to become, no matter what we have to sacrifice, we find a way." The display changed again, showing human research facilities working on projects that seemed to bend the laws of physics. Scientists who could think at impossible speeds. Engineers who could build machines that operated on principles Crics didn't understand. "For 37 years, we've been preparing," Dr. Jensen explained. "Not just building weapons or ships, but becoming the kind of species that can face the impossible and win." "What if you're wrong?" Crics asked. "What if these devourers are too powerful even for you?" The humans on the screen exchanged glances, and for a moment Crics saw something in their expressions that chilled him. Not fear, but absolute determination. Then we'll become something even more than we are now. Sergeant Davis said quietly. We'll evolve again. We'll adapt. We'll find a way. Dr. Roberts stepped closer to the camera. Admiral, that's what your people don't understand about us. You see our power and think we're dangerous. You're right. We are dangerous, but we're dangerous to the things that threaten life, not to life itself. How can we be sure? Crics asked. Captain Foster smiled, and it was the same warm expression they had seen from Davis, because in 50 years of incredible power, we've never once used it against another species. We've never expanded beyond our agreed borders. We've never demanded tribute or submission from anyone. Instead, Roberts added, we've spent 5 decades preparing to die for people who don't even know we're protecting them. That's the human condition, Admiral. We don't seek to conquer. We seek to preserve. We don't want to rule the galaxy. We want to save it. The transmission paused, and Crics realized the humans were giving him time to process what he'd learned. Around him, his crew sat in stunned silence, trying to understand what they had witnessed. Finally, Dr. Roberts spoke again. Admiral, you came here to learn why no one dares cross into human space. Now you know. It's not because we're hostile. It's because we're the last line of defense against things that would end everything you've ever known. And we're about to find out if 50 years of preparation will be enough. The alarm blared 3 days later. Admiral Crics was still in human space, still trying to grasp everything he'd learned, when his communications officer called out in panic. Admiral, multiple fleets approaching human territory from all directions. Crics rushed to a sensor station. The display showed dozens of ships from different Confederation species, Soran attack fleets, ethereal research vessels, even the massive warships of the usually peaceful crystals. They were all heading toward human space. Admiral, came Captain Morrison's voice from the human station Cerberus. We know about the other fleets. We've been tracking them since they left their homeworlds. How is that possible? Crics asked. Some of those ships only launched yesterday. We have our ways, Morrison replied calmly. The real question is, are you going to help us handle the situation, or are you going to be part of the problem? Before Crics could answer, a new voice filled his bridge. It was warm, but carried absolute authority. Admiral Crics, this is President Dan Clark of the Human Coalition. We need to talk. The image that appeared on Crics' screen showed a man who looked completely ordinary. President Clark could have been any middle-aged human from the old days, but his eyes held depths that spoke of experience beyond normal understanding. Mr. President, Crics said carefully, my government didn't authorize these other fleets. No, Clark replied. Each species made their own decision to investigate human space. The Sorans want to test our defenses. The Ethereals want to study our technology. The Crystals are afraid we're planning to attack someone. Clark paused, looking directly at Crics through the screen. They're all making the same mistake you made, Admiral. They think this is about them. What do you mean? Admiral Sarah Brooks appeared beside President Clark. Admiral Brooks wore a simple uniform, but something about her presence made Crics instinctively straighten up. This was someone who had commanded forces beyond imagination. Admiral Crics, Brooks said, while your various fleets have been approaching our territory, we've been detecting something else. Look at these readings. The display filled with sensor data that made Crics' blood run cold. The dark shapes they had seen before were moving faster now, much faster. What the humans had said would take 10 years was going to happen in 10 months. The Devourers have accelerated, Brooks explained. Something has made them change course toward inhabited space. Our best analysis suggests they detected the energy signatures from all these fleets moving around. President Clark stepped forward, "Admiral, the invasion you and your allies are planning isn't going to happen, because in about 6 hours, we're all going to be too busy fighting for our lives." 6 hours, Crics whispered. "The lead elements of the Devourer fleet just entered our sensor range," said Dr. Tony Mitchell as he joined the conversation. "We're activating the integration protocol." "What's that?" Crics asked, though he wasn't sure he wanted to know. "It's how we bring the rest of the galaxy up to speed," President Clark replied. "Admiral, you and every ship in your various fleets are about to receive a complete download of human technology, tactics, and capabilities. We're going to turn your people into something that can help us fight." Commander Lisa Parks stepped into view. Unlike the others, she looked exactly like what Crics expected a diplomat to look like: professional, calm, reassuring. But her next words were anything but reassuring. "The integration protocol will enhance your ships, your weapons, and your people to approximately 10% of human capability," Park explained. "It's not permanent, and it's not comfortable, but it's the only way you'll survive what's coming." "You're going to change us?" Crics asked in horror. "Temporarily," President Clark said. "With your permission, we won't force this on anyone. But Admiral, look at your screens. Look at what's heading toward your homeworlds. Then decide if you want to face it with your current capabilities." Crics looked at the sensor readings again. The Devourer fleet was massive. Ships the size of moons moving in formations that stretched across light years. Behind them came something even worse, a darkness that seemed to consume space itself. "How many?" he asked quietly. 17,000 capital ships in the first wave," Admiral Brooks replied. "We estimate about 4 million smaller vessels, and something we're calling a Voidbringer. It's approximately the size of a small planet, and appears to be some kind of command structure." "How many ships do you have?" 312, Brooks said simply. Crics stared at her. "That's impossible. You can't fight 17,000 ships with 300. "Admiral," President Clark said gently, "you're still thinking in terms of normal ships and normal tactics. We stopped being normal 50 years ago." Dr. Mitchell activated new displays. "The integration protocol isn't just about upgrading your technology. It's about showing you how to think differently, how to see solutions where you once saw only problems." "What do you need us to do?" Crics asked. Commander Park smiled. "Help us save the galaxy, Admiral. Help us show the universe that life is worth fighting for." The transformation began immediately. Admiral Crics felt his mind expand as human knowledge flowed into his consciousness. His ship systems upgraded themselves in real time. Around him, his crew changed as their capabilities grew beyond anything they had thought possible. But more than that, Crics began to understand. He saw how humans thought, how they approached problems, how they refused to accept defeat. For the first time in his life, he felt what it was like to believe that any challenge could be overcome. "Admiral," came Brooks's voice, "your fleet is now integrated with our defensive network. You're about to see what human space really is." The stars around them began to move again, but this time, Crics understood what was happening. Human space wasn't just territory defended by ships. It was a weapon system the size of a solar system, designed to fight threats that normal civilizations couldn't even imagine. "All Confederation fleets, this is President Clark," came the broadcast to every approaching ship. "You came here to investigate human space. Instead, you're going to help us defend it. In 30 minutes, the greatest threat in galactic history will arrive. When it does, you'll understand why we needed 50 years to prepare, and why we spent that time becoming something worthy of the trust you're about to place in us." Admiral Crics felt the integration protocol complete its work. He was still himself, still Manturi, but now he could think at speeds that would have burned out his brain hours before. He could see tactical solutions that had been invisible moments ago. He could understand weapons that operated on principles a species had never discovered. "Admiral Brooks," he said, surprised by the confidence in his own voice. "What are your orders?" "Simple, Admiral," Brooks replied. "We're going to show these devourers something they've never encountered before. We're going to show them what happens when life refuses to give up." President Clark's final transmission went out to every ship in the growing fleet, to all vessels, human and alien alike. Today, we find out if 50 years of preparation was enough. Today, we discover whether one species' refusal to accept the impossible can save an entire galaxy. Today, no one fights alone. As the Devourer fleet emerged from the darkness between stars, Admiral Crics realized that everything had changed. The aliens had come to human space to investigate a mystery. Instead, they had become part of the solution to the greatest crisis in galactic history. And for the first time since he had entered human space, Admiral Crics wasn't afraid, because now he understood what the humans had been trying to tell him all along. Sometimes the only way to protect what you love is to become something greater than what you were. And sometimes that transformation changes not just you, but everyone around you. The battle for the galaxy was about to begin, and this time, life was going to fight.